Hey again, everybody. Um, to start off on this topic that I'm going to talk on today, I'll kind of talk about how I ended up thinking on it today. Um, so I was on a walk. It's like one of the last nice-ish days that I'll have here where I live before it's just going to be stark winter. And we had a bad snowstorm recently, so this is kind of the little break that we have. I don't know what the forecast is, but I'm just glad that it was nice today. And I went for a walk around sunset. It was beautiful. There's beautiful mountains where I live, so it was pretty breathtaking and definitely something I needed to do to get out and, just answer that call to look at some pretty nature. So, but I was on this walk and I stopped and I journaled and I was kind of thinking about, I guess because I was journaling, or really just kind of what I was thinking to myself as I was, um, of kind of the voice that I have in my head when I'm doing those things, or really when I'm doing anything, and kind of that internal narration that I have of everything. And I don't know if other people think this way, but I think very much I almost say things in a storyline as I'm doing them, and so I kind of think like, all right, next I'm doing this, and we're gonna hope that this happens, but I'm gonna be prepared for if this happens. And so it's a very expectation-based mindset, which isn't always good. But I kind of have it in where I have the main voice that's what I immediately want to do, kind of the like, all right, this is the next thing, and then there's a different voice that's kind of like what I have to do. And so it's a constant kind of convincing me to do work, to work out. It's that that conscience that comes up, like when you're working out or you're on a run and you want to push, and that kind of comes up and it's like, all right, one more, and I'm glad that I have that because it definitely pushes me to go harder on those things. But I kind of was thinking about how interesting it is, and probably, I mean, there's no really any way to tell how one person thinks in their own head, or kind of the tone that they speak to themselves in. And so this was an interesting concept I was thinking about, that I think could be a way to explain a few reasons, or at least be one of the reasons why some people may behave a certain way, or react to other people in a certain way, and it may be heavily based on how they speak to themselves in their own head, and kind of the tone that we take with ourselves, and kind of those self insults or self degradations that are so easy to do, and I know I do them like constantly, and definitely something I'm working on. And it's hard to kind of have a consistency of like, all right, man, like you're like telling yourself that you're doing fine, or that you look good, or kind of those self affirmations are hard to keep up. And so this made me kind of think on how other people react to when you speak to them, and how there are kind of those people who it may be your first time speaking with them, and they may instantly come across as very rude or callous or cold, um, and or maybe very guarded, very defensive people. And I feel like this can happen when you, without knowing it, mirror the voice that they have in their own head. And because we are our worst critics, and so I think it's harder to withstand something when it is something that we've already told ourselves, and something we are already aware of. So being made aware of it again from an external um, voice rather than just the internal one can hit really hard. And so, but this is also something too where I think that those self affirmations can also become affirmations for other people too, and why compliments are so important. and why treating other people how you want to be treated is also so crucial. And so kind of thinking on the tone that you take with yourself mentally, especially if you're in a place where you're working on something and you have goals and aspirations, and maybe you have day-to-day things that you know that you should be doing to get closer to that goal, and maybe you don't do them every day. And I know I have those things, and when I don't do those, I can be hard on myself, mentally, and can say things to myself that I really would never say to anybody else. And so, then it's like, why is it okay that I say it to myself? And so kind of trying to treat yourself treat yourself as yourself, but also kind of as this other person that you're taking care of. And to speak to yourself the way that you would anybody else, because I'm sure, most of us wouldn't say the things that we say to ourselves to anybody else. And if people do that, then obviously they are dealing with something very personal and are hurt. And so kind of circling all this to where I'm at right now with kind of social things and just things in general. It's finals week. I have a big project due Friday. I have a final on Monday. And I have a few assignments this week. Honestly, this week's pretty light. Most of my stuff is at the very end of this week. So really I should be grateful that mine is quite a bit lighter than a lot of other people. But that stress is still there, and I still, every day I'm like, I should be doing something more. Like, I feel like I should always be doing more, which is a good thing, but it can also be a bad thing when you kind of beat yourself up over feeling like you haven't done more. And so to kind of tie this into my Stoicism video recently, like the goal isn't to be perfect, the goal is to be better. And kind of that internal voice that we have oftentimes expects perfection. And it's an unrealistic thing to expect of ourselves. And I know it's hard to control. And that voice is hard to, get to meet realistic expectations of yourself. And, you should always want to go higher, but not expect to be perfect. And so also I think, though, that internal narration can be a very powerful tool, and has helped me, since I do want to be a writer someday, and I do think of stories pretty often. Sometimes it's fun to, when I journal or when I'm just thinking while I'm doing daily things, I almost think of it as if I'm a third person narrator, and I'm kind of narrating what my life is. And so this kind of ties into that main character mindset, that you're the main character of your own story. And so you kind of think like, all right, like if I were recording what I'm doing day to day, so if you are journaling, I want to make it like, and you are expecting that other people are going to read this, you want to make it as interesting as possible. So, it makes me want to go out and do more interesting things and meet more people and have something that I'm excited to write about that night. And I remember last year I did this a few times in my journal. I haven't done it in a while, but I would do like a full-on, like I would try to remember the exact conversations that I had throughout that whole day, exactly what I did. Like I would like take notes, and then I'd go to my journal at the very end of that day, and I would write it out as if it were a story. And so I would like write it like my alarm went off at 7:30 and I groggily got out of bed, and it's, like very detailed story. And, I leave out some of the more personal things, but you try to write your life as if it's a book. And this definitely made me want to do things more, because I wanted to write about like, oh, I talked to this new person, or I went here and I did this thing, and I can write about it in a first person narrative perspective. And that's what makes it more fun. And so something that I think would be fun to try, and I definitely want to try again. And so, yeah, so kind of overall, what I'm getting at here is just, having the self-respect and the awareness of yourself, of how you are speaking to yourself mentally, and how you view yourself from both a third person and a first person perspective. And that oftentimes it's easy to almost live in a third person view permanently and view our first person version as inadequate or not doing enough. And then we're harder on ourselves because of that, but we're just hurting ourselves in that process. And so being able to switch between those two in a healthy way, and being able to step back, have a third person view when is necessary, and then but being in that first person, like I'm in charge of my own life view when you need to be, or most of the time, I would say. So so kind of different ways to think on perspective and how I view the day to day, and try to make things a little bit more interesting, especially when they seem a little bit mundane, and it doesn't feel like there's a whole lot going on. So so other than that though, things are pretty good. Like I said, school was pretty light, so nothing super major, but I might have a date on Wednesday, so I'll definitely make a video. Not on that specifically, but I'll mention that. So overall, things are better. Things are getting better. Things are always getting better every day, and just trying to, be better than I was yesterday. So I hope you all are doing well. I hope that you all are making some good Christmas plans. I know I'm excited to visit home here soon. So that's what I've been thinking about today. Let me know what you all think. So thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.